Tour of Denali National Park. Denali National Park is located in southern central Alaska. Denali National Park is home to, until not 2015, Mount McKinley. In 2015, it was changed to Denali, which means the high one to the native people of Alaska. Denali is 20,320 feet above sea level. The mountain leaps 18,000 feet above the surrounding countryside. Denali is part of the Alaskan Range, which is a curved mountain chain about 600 miles long that forms a topographical barrier and drainage divide between the coastal lowlands around Cook Inlet and the Yukon lowlands of the Alaskan interior. Former Mount McKinley, which is now named Denali, was named in 1896 by a gold prospector in honor of the 25th President of the United States. Geologist George H. Eldridge and topographer Robert Muldrow were sent by the U.S. Geological Survey Group to explore the southern approaches to the range. Eldridge and Muldrow determined the map location and calculated the elevation of Denali with an accuracy close to the current accepted figures. The two men also plotted the route for an Alaskan Railroad, built 25 years later from Seward to Fairbanks. The railroad skirts the eastern boundary of the park and is the principal means of access to Denali National Park. Denali has two main peaks: the southern peak, which elevation is 20,320 feet, and the northern peak, which elevation is 19,470 feet. Denali National Park covers over 6 million acres. It towers above and separates the Kuskokwim and Tanana River basins to the north and from the Susquehanna River lowland to the south. The mountain barrier creates two major climate zones in the park and dramatic elevation differences. As a result, the ecosystems range from lowlands with taiga forest, braided glacial streams, floodplains, and meandering sloughs, to alpine woodlands, meadows, scrub tundra, to alpine low shrub tundra, slopes, and steep peaks. Wonder Lake was formed by a retreating glacier. It's not the result of one single block of ice. As the glaciers that covered the park have melted, Wonder Lake filled with water, becoming one of Denali's largest lakes. Yukon Tana terrain are the oldest rocks in the park. They were ocean sediments deposited in the shallow seas during the Paleozoic era some 300 to 500 million years ago. Later in the Paleozoic and into the early Mesozoic, 100 to 300 million years ago, other terrains, fragments of the larger continental plates, migrated north on the Pacific plate and attached to the Yukon terrain, creating the current jigsaw puzzle of rocks from many environments. During the last 100 million years, the assembled terrains buckled from the continuous tectonic collisions, uplifting to create the present-day topography of the Alaska Range. About 6 million years ago, a regional uplift that began in the Alaska Range spread north to push up the outer range. Around 70 million years ago, alternating warm, near tropical conditions and cooler, drier periods enhanced erosion and deposits of sedimentary basins. Sedimentary basins like the Cantwell, where dinosaurs walked among ancestral lakes, braided streams, alluvial fans, volcanic eruptions dominated the scene 40 to 50 million years ago, creating the colorful rocks at Polychrome Pass. Subsurface magma cooled to become the gigantic bulk of Denali and Mount Foraker. Because the Pacific Plate continues to collide with and slide beneath Alaska, the buckling and uplift continues, creating a seismic active area around Denali, generally following the Alaskan Range. The Denali Fault System extends for about 750 miles. In 2002, an earthquake with magnitude of 7.9 centered on the Denali Fault east of the park ruptured the surface with up to 30 feet of strike slip offset. Seismic events of similar magnitudes may occur in the park in the future. Through the past 2 million years, Denali's history has been characterized by repeated advances and retreats of massive ice sheets. Over half the park was intermittently covered by an extension of ice sheet in Canada. During glacial maximums, valley glaciers dominated the northern foothills of the Alaskan Range. The ice lobes extended into the lowlands. As many as seven major glacial advances and several minor advance retreat sequences have been identified on the north side of the range. Landforms such as sculpted valleys, terraces, moraines, and kettle ponds are common in the northern river valley. During these Pleistocene glaciations, the northern area of the park was part of Baragena, a vast ice-free refuge for plants and animals, connected to the northeastern Asia by the Bering Land Bridge, and isolated from the rest of North America by the ice sheet. These areas in Denali were probably colder and much drier than the present climate. Trees were absent and vegetation was more tundra-like than today. Because of this history of repeated land connections to the northern Eurasia with isolation from the rest of the North America, there is a high degree of similarity of animals and plants between the interior of Alaska and North Asia. Denali is famous for viewing the five largest mammal species, which are wolf, grizzly bears, caribou, moose, and Dall sheep. However, the park also has a diverse number of smaller species. Various birds and Arctic hare. Denali caribou spend most of the year moving between areas where they feed, breed, and calve. Along the park road, they are usually seen in small clusters of a few to around 20 animals. In the fall, large groups congregate for breeding, then often migrate beyond wintering grounds in the park's northeast corner where wind may blow areas free of snow. The moose in Denali average between 900 and 1,500 pounds. They survive on massive quantities of woody plants. They can consume 60 pounds of vegetation in one day. The favorite animal at Denali National Park for viewing is the grizzly bear. Denali National Park has over 300 grizzly bears. Grizzly bears eat almost anything: roots, grasses, sedges. From mid to late summer, berries are the essential food for grizzly bears. One grizzly bear can eat almost 200,000 soapberries in a single day. Wolf sightings are rare at Denali National Park, although Denali does have wolves. On this trip, I did not see any wolves. So that is my tour of Denali National Park, my favorite national park, the most beautiful park in the entire world.